morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, I'm going to do something that I do, on average, about once every 6 months. I'm going to count down the 10 worst GXs in the Pokemon trading card game. Now, I am only looking at GXs, not Tag Team GXs. I know some of you think that Latios and Latias should be on there. Makes me sad, Baby Daisy Spirit Pokemon and all that. But we're not doing that. We will do a top 10 Tag Team GXs very soon. And let me know in the comment section if you want to do a bottom 10, a top 10 worst Tag Team GXs. I'm sure we can do one of those videos as well. But for today, we are talking single Pokemon only. Now, I did this list 6 months ago, and I read through, there were many comments, I read through all of them, so this is very much informed by the over 200 comments I got on my previous video, although obviously, we've had 6 months worth of new releases since then. Now, there are a couple Pokemon that I've actually removed from the list since last time. Blaziken has been taken off the list. The reason Blaziken has been taken off the list is because it is a decent option for Mewtwo and Mew. Mewtwo and Mew can copy any GX Pokemon in the discard pile, and that includes Blaziken, at which point, with a Welder and just any other energy, all of a sudden we're looking at a really quite good 210 for free energy. Now, if you put 4 on a Mewtwo and Mew, you can do better, but that's actually really good for free energy, and that's a single turn using Welder. Alolan Executor has been removed from the list. A bunch of people got in touch and said, Wassy, look, it's a stage 1, it's got gigantic HP, and it can do fairly decent damage, and to be fair, we have triple acceleration energy now, which really helps it, so he's off the list. And finally, Primarina's another one that I was convinced to take off the list by you guys. It's got a nice GX attack for 2 energy, and if you get enough water energy on the field, it can absolutely smash. Plus, I love me some Poplio, they've all been removed. Now, a couple Pokemon that didn't quite make the list, just so you can see where my thought process is here. The Charizard GX from Detective Pikachu. I know it looks pretty bad, but if you go Welder, triple acceleration energy, you can actually use those 2 fairly beefy attacks in one go. So for that reason, Charizard from Detective Pikachu stays on. Incineroar, look, we all know I'm biased towards Incineroar, that's not a giant secret, but the fact of the matter is it can hit 130 for a single energy on a 250 HP Pokemon. That alone makes me want to keep it off the list, because even though it's not the best one ever, there is potential. I don't think it's as bad as any that did make the list. There are Pokemon like Snorlax and Kangaskhan which aren't particularly great, and I'm not arguing that they're particularly great, but I am arguing that they attack for colourless energy, which means they can be used with Welder or Malamar or literally any other energy acceleration, and they can be teched into any deck, and they've still got fairly nice attacks, so they're not making the list. I didn't put Zekrom on the list, though I did consider it, because Zekrom's actually got quite a nice GX attack. I know it's expensive at 4 energy. It means Thunder Mountain, Tapu Koko, Prism Star attachment won't actually pay it, like it will so many of these other lightning attacks. But the fact of the matter is, it does 200 damage and goes through any effects on the defending Pokemon. So something like a Keldeo, for instance, you would be able to one-hit KO. That keeps it off the list. And similarly, Alolan Marowak I don't think is a particularly good card, but it's a stage 1, which means you can evolve it from Ditto, and for 0 energy, you do 50 damage to 2 Pokemon, and then if you knock them out, you put them straight into the Lost Zone. That, I'm afraid, means that it is good enough that it stays off of the list. Yveltal is one that a few people suggested should make the list, but the GX attack is too good. The GX attack gets an instant KO if there are exactly 4 damage counters on a particular Pokemon. We've seen this played in the past with Decidueye. We've also seen it played, and we will see it played with stuff like Volcarona that can drop damage counters. I profiled a Gengar list the other day, which can drop damage counters and then get a one-hit KO with this. I think this is a really good card. It's a very, very niche card. It is only going to make it into a very few decks. But even so, I think it's too good to end up on the list. And finally, Tyranitar's a stage 2 and it's very expensive, but with Dark Box decks using stuff like Weavile lately, even something like this could see play. We are talking about GXs that I just do not see working. And in at number 10, we've got Toxapex. Bunch of people didn't like him being on the previous list. I've dropped him down a couple of spots. But the reality is Toxapex does not do enough for the investment you're being asked for. It's a stage 1. It takes 3 psychic energy. And I know that we do have Malamar to pay it. But 10 damage between turns? If your opponent gets out the active, which they almost certainly will, you're basically paying 3 energy for 10 damage, and that's not good enough, frankly. I do like the GX attack, but you'll notice the other Pokemon that stayed off the list because of their GX attacks were basics, or they were single energy attacks, or maybe even free attacks. Free energy on a stage 1, I'm not willing to pay it. In at number 9, Kommo-o. Now, this should be seen as a gigantic win for Kommo-o, because Kommo-o has actually fallen from number 2 to number 9. Several people got in touch with me and said, Wassy, I've really enjoyed playing Kommo-o. I still don't think it's a particularly good card, but I do think stuff like Lance Prism Star makes it far easier to get into play. It can use Triple Acceleration Energy. It can use Tapu Koko Prism Star. There's actually quite a lot of advantages it's got. Then it can go through any effects on the defending Pokemon, so something like an Alolan Ninetales trying to face it down will just leave here. And 240 is still a huge amount of damage on a GX attack. I don't think it's great, I think it's expensive, I think it's a stage 2, but I am at least softening towards it just a little bit. In at number 8, we've got Entei, occupying the exact same space he did last time. And it's not that I think Entei is flat out terrible garbage. I think compared to other fire Pokemon we're playing, it's flat out terrible garbage. No one is playing this over Heatran GX. Nobody is playing this instead of something like Reshiram and Charizard. Non-GXs like Volcanion are making their way into every deck, and Entei's just sitting there being like, oh. I mean, to put it into context, if you get 2 energy on Volcanion and 2 energy somewhere else on your field, you're hitting 110. If you get 3 energy onto Entei, you're hitting 100 plus burn. It is not good enough. The GX attack, 150 to one of your opponent's bench. I mean, look, if this was 160 and you'd be able to KO a Dedenne or a Jirachi, maybe I could look at this and go, you know what, there's a reason to play it. But it's not, so I can't. Sorry, Entei, I don't think you're a very good Pokemon card. That felt really mean saying that, even though I know it's just a piece of cardboard. In at number 7, down 1, we've got Alolan Golem. And this makes me sad. Golem was one of my favourite Pokemon back in Gen 1, and now he's got a mustache. I love this card. I just don't think it's good. I love the gigantic 250 HP. That's rather lovely. I love that you can do 200 damage, albeit then 50 to yourself. And I love that you can do 100 damage and stop your opponent playing any cards from their hand during their next turn. I mean, Mimikyu and Gengar has proven that stopping your opponent playing cards from their hand is a really nice effect of a GX attack, but they do it for 2 energy on a basic rather than 4 energy on a stage 2. And even with Tapu Koko Prism Star and even with Triple Acceleration Energy, this is just too expensive. I love that you can do so much damage. I love that you can stop your opponent playing cards from their hand, but it's a stage 2, it's for 4 energy, and the reality is, right, like a bunch of cards on this list, it's been out for a little while. It's been out for so long, it's actually rotated. We're looking at all GXs. We are not worrying about rotation here. We're looking at all GXs that have been released. And the fact of the matter is that nobody ever made it work, so I'm sorry, Alolan Golem, you make the list. In at number 7, both the Mr. Mime. Frankly, you can't really separate them out. They're essentially the same card. One of them blocks all even attacks and one of them blocks all odd attacks. Yes, I know they're all technically even attacks, but think in terms of damage counters. When Mr. Mime first came out, I said that Choice Band would essentially ruin it. Because Choice Band adds 30 damage, turning any odd attack even and any even attack odd. Meaning that essentially you could always just, if faced by a Mr. Mime, use Choice Band to guarantee a KO. Now the fact of the matter is we're not there at the moment. We don't have Choice Band, but Mr. Mime still isn't seeing a huge amount of play. And the fact of the matter is, we can always just change it. Lightning decks have electro power, which helps very much indeed. But even if you end up with something like a fire deck, if they're blocking odd number attacks so you can't sit there and do 230, well, you can probably use Outrage. Or you can use Double Blaze. Or you can use a backup attacker, like Heatran, just make sure you've got an even amount of energy on there. Yeah, sorry ladies and gentlemen, there's just too many decks that have an answer to Mr. Mime, so he doesn't make the list. In at number 5, I'm putting a pair of Pokemon, because they make the list for the exact same reason. It is Raikou and Thundurus. They are Lightning GXs, which are frankly not good enough. If we have a quick look at Raikou here, the best you can do is 4 energy 150, and if you flip tails you do 50 to yourself. No. 4 lightning energy 100 to each of your opponent's Pokemon is good. That has any energy attached to it really restricts it, and that's assuming they're not playing Mew to protect their bench. If they are, even that fails. If we go instead and have a quick look at Thundurus here, we see 140 for free energy. And again, with Thunder Mountain and Tapu Koko Prism Star, that is essentially a single energy attack. And free energy, 100 damage for each head you can flip from 4 coins seems good. But even in that context, it's like, well, you've really got to flip, say, 3 out of 4 to make it really good. And Lightning Pokemon have Thunder Mountain, Prism Star, and Lightning Pokemon have Electro Power. But actually, we've got Pikachu and Zekrom, which is phenomenal for free energy. Bearing in mind Thunder Mountain, Tapu Koko, Prism Star. And then we've got Raichu and Alolan Raichu, which is phenomenal for free energy. And if you want a regular GX, we've got Zera Aura, which is great for free energy. Soon we're going to have Tapu Koko V, which is great for free energy. My point here very simply is, we have got a multitude of good lightning Pokemon that use free energy, so why are we mucking about with these that are just nowhere near as good? Thundurus GX had a chance until we got way better lightning Pokemon. In at number 4, we've got Tsareena, who's actually gone up 1 spot since last time. And Tsareena is basically a perfect storm of all the bad stuff about these GXs. It's a stage 2, it's fairly expensive, it is a typing which makes it very difficult to accelerate energy. Even Venusaur, which was alright, was a stage 2 and has now rotated, but even then it was a stage 2 and it only doubled energy. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with doubling energy, but you still had to get the energy on there. Even then we had no good single energy attacks. Switching your opponent's bench while they're active and confusing them is fine, but it's not great. 180 for free energy if they're confused on a stage 2. I mean, come on. And that's before we mention that it has the worst weakness in the game right now, with Welder making fire decks over the top phenomenal. There's just nothing here that gets us excited, like, at all. There is nothing about this that makes me want to play it. Stage 2, bad weakness, no energy acceleration, underwhelming attacks. And yet it still only comes in at number 4. In at number 3, a new entry for Palossand. Now, Palossand is underwhelming in every sense of the word. Now, it is a stage 1, which goes in its favour. The 210 HP is fine, but nothing particularly special. And then free energy, 60 damage plus confusion. I don't even care that triple acceleration energy will work here. That's still 2 energy attachments, and for 60 and confusion, no. To put it in a different context, right, how about we look at that Christmas tree Pokemon, the Xurkitree one. We're getting close to Christmas. 1 energy, 20 damage plus confusion, and it's a better typing. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, Palossand is hitting weakness against stuff like Pikachu and Zekrom, which is lovely. But even if you've got 2 fighting and 2 colourless energy, you do 100, heal 20. That's not getting a 1-hit KO on Pikachu and Zekrom for 4 energy on a stage 1. Now, I do adore the GX attack for Palossand here. 2 fighting, 2 colourless, look at the top 13 cards of your opponent's deck, discard any number of Pokemon you find there, and this attack does 60 damage for each card you discarded in this way. Being able to discard all of their Pokemon while doing 60 damage for each is brilliant, and would make me way more excited if it wasn't 4 energy on an evolving Pokemon with a typing where accelerating energy is really difficult. No, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, there is very little to get excited about here. Now, in at number 2, I'm cheating just a little bit. I'm putting the Family GXs that just came out in Hidden Fates. And we are going in alphabetical order with Mewtwo, Pinsir, Raikou, and Wigglytuff. Now, these were not supposed to be good. These were released over in Japan as Family GXs, and the whole point of them was that they were going into these little decks where you would learn to play the game and everything was a little bit simpler and a little bit easier. They are designed to be underwhelming cards. Now, interestingly enough, the Gyarados GX doesn't make the list here because Gyarados actually has a decent GX attack, and if you use it in a deck with Naganadel and Quagsire, you can actually get the energy out. Similarly, the Charizard GX has actually proven to be really, really good in Mewtwo and Mew decks as a really nice 4 energy, 300 damage GX attack. So in that respect, I actually really like it. But the fact of the matter is, outside of those, these are very, very underwhelming cards indeed. They are generally vanilla cards, they don't do very much, the damage output isn't good enough, and I don't think we can really blame them for this, because it is literally as they were designed, but make no mistake about it, they are not good cards, and they have very, very much earned their space on the list. Sorry. But in at number 1, we have a familiar Pokemon, it's Machamp. I still cannot bring myself to put anything other than Machamp at number 1. And I like Machamp. Machamp's a cool Pokemon. But the fact of the matter is, it's a stage 2. It's got no single energy attacks. They are all fighting attacks, which means that you need some kind of energy acceleration. And all we've really got is Karate Belt. But you got to be behind on prizes. 120 to an evolution Pokemon isn't enough, because they've all pretty much got more HP than that. Free energy 130 to discard a stadium is not good enough. And just free energy 180 goes through resistance. What is that? Like, seriously, what is that? I mean, Wigglytuff at least heals when it does its GX attack. Raichou's got free energy 200, and these are GXs that are designed to be bad. No, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I cannot put Machamp anywhere else but number 1 on this list. And we're getting very close. I think we've now seen all the GXs we're getting, so it looks like Machamp is going to stay on this list until the end of time. And I think it bloomin' well deserves it. But I'd like to know what you think, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to know which ones you agree with, which ones you disagree with. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. But remember the rule, if you're going to put a Pokemon on the list, you've got to take one off. If you want to take a Pokemon off the list, you've got to put one on. And if you do a full top 10, I will be your friend. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of games that don't even have any Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.